Just 5 seconds into the story, our protagonist, Kikuru, finds that his female companions have been subdued by 2 disgusting monsters, so he asks himself if he really wants to live his youth that way. A little earlier in time, Kikuru finds himself in the offices of the Hunters Guild. There he is attended to by a girl named Inome, who asks him what is the reason for his retirement, to which Kikuru tells her that he wishes to retire because a childhood friend sent him a New Year's Eve postcard telling him that he had recently married. Inome replies that this cannot be the only reason for him to make such a decision, to which Kikuru replies that it is really his only reason. He also tells her that the only thing he has done since he was a child is to train non-stop to be the best monster hunter, and that hunting beasts are all he has been doing for the last 2 years since he turned 18. It is for this reason that he regrets having wasted his youth trying to be the strongest, since he is now 20 years old and has never in his life had a relationship with a woman, unlike all his friends, who enjoyed their adolescence to the fullest. The girl tries to pressure Kikuru not to make a hasty decision, so she tells him that he will not be able to collect his severance pay if he retires now, as he has only worked for 2 years. The latter tells him that he doesn't need money, as he never had time to spend a single penny of everything he earned from the collected rewards. In fact, he estimates that he has much more money than the Hunters Guild itself. Then, Inome plays his last deck and tries to convince Kikuru to stay by telling him that a beautiful girl had recently joined the guild, but the latter doesn't believe him. At that moment, Hitamu appears on the scene and Inome tells Kikuru that this is the girl they were talking about. Hitamu introduces himself to our protagonist and tells him that she is a martial artist and asks him to call her Hitamuki. He replies that he had heard a lot about martial artists, but had never seen one in person. Inome interrupts them and mentions that Hitamuki will have her first mission as a hunter that same day and that Kikuru can accompany her if she wishes. He blushes and accepts, saying that if Hitamuki is skilled enough he will have no problem giving her his place within the guild. The duo walks through the Mabuki forest to carry out their mission and get to know each other along the way. Hitamuki speaks to Kikuru very formally, so he replies that it feels very awkward to be treated that way by a girl his age. Plus, it would be detrimental when communicating in battle. She replies that she admires everything she has heard about him and can't wait to see him in battle, but Kikuru remains aloof and asks Hitamuki about his life. Hitamuki replies that she is 18 years old and a recent high school graduate, and tells Kikuru that she shouldn't feel this empty about his work since he has helped so many people and is a hero to the city. At that moment, his animal instinct kicks in and he smells some monsters nearby. Upon arrival, they encounter some very low-level little slimes. Kikuru is surprised by the keen and sensitive sense of smell her companion has, and as she is about to recommend her to be cautious to make the attack, she notices Hitamuki disappear from her side. She introduces herself to the slimes with respect, mentioning that a martial artist should always start a fight with reverence, but the monsters attack her by getting into her private parts and she does not know how to defend herself since they are invulnerable to her fists. Kikuru watches all this with some embarrassment and asks his partner if she wouldn't sue him for harassment if he helps her. Hitamuki replies that no, and that she wouldn't mind a bit if he had to touch her body to get those monsters off her back. Then Kikuru completely blushes and begins to remove the monsters from her friend's body. When he finishes, he teaches her that the only way to defeat a slime is to destroy the core inside them, as they are immune to conventional attacks due to its gelatinous body. While talking, Hitamuki again senses the presence of a monster and they both go to meet it. When they reach the beast, Kikuru's stealthy plans are thwarted when his partner is captured by the monster. He saves his partner by quickly eliminating the beast, and they decide to return to the guild. Back in Mabuki City, Inome congratulates Hitamuki for killing 2 slimes and a lion bear on her first mission as a hunter. As she cries, Kikuru wryly replies that her partner did excellent for her first time. She also tells Inome that she has made a decision. Although she is eager to embark on a college life, she will not leave her position as hunter and defender of the city until she finds a successor who is capable of keeping the monsters in check. Inome replies that Hitamuki is just a novice and must receive training before she becomes an expert like he is, so he asks her to be patient with her. He then mentions that there is a new teammate who will be assigned to his team for training. Kikuru and Hitamuki blush to know that they will be sharing adventures with someone new and he starts to protest to Inome about her ideas about him. But she ignores him and calls the new recruit anyway. The girl appears and introduces herself as Medina Angers, a white sorceress. As she speaks, Kikuru thinks that she is too short in stature for combat, and is even smaller than Hitamuki. Inome asks her to be very kind to her and that she must train them well so that the city will be protected on the day he retires. Kikuru starts to think if leaving a successor is the best way to retirement, but Medina interrupts him by telling him that she won't work with someone as perverted as him. He replies that she misunderstood things and that he couldn't feel anything towards her due to the fact that she looks like a little girl. Medina becomes enraged and hits him on the head with her cane. While the group is leaving the guild, a girl named Asina appears running in the place and asks Inoma if Kikuru's team had already left. She answers yes, so Asina runs after them. Back in the forest, the group goes in search of new monsters to hunt. Arriving at the place where the slime is, Kikuru tests Hitamu by sending her to fight again against the monster that had caused her trouble last time. Meanwhile, he and Medina would be left to watch her back from a bush. Hitamu makes the same mistake as last time and the slime attacks her again. But this time she manages to get back into the fight on her own and dodges some of the monster's attacks. Kikuru watches the fight with disappointment and tells Medina that they should not interfere, as Hitamu must learn to defend herself. But at that moment, she misses hitting the slime's core and is attacked by another slime that was nearby. Kikuru decides to help her and destroys the monsters easily, but when she must remove the trail of jelly they left on Hitamu's body, she blushes. Then, Medina uses her powers on her partner's wounded hand and heals it instantly. Kikuru is surprised to see this, as she has never seen a sorceress heal a wound so fast and is happy to see the talent of one of her two apprentices. Medina tries to charge her partner for healing her hand, so she gets angry and they start arguing. Then, a giant mega slime appears and threatens the team. They are put on alert and Kikuru begins to devise a plan to defeat it and protect her disciples. But Hitamu asks her master to let her handle the situation and surprises everyone by revealing a super martial arts technique. The next day, Kikuru learns that the second best hunter of the guild announced his retirement, so there is no way he can retire soon. Then, Inoma announces that he will have two new rookies to train, a black sorceress and a female knight. The sorceress enters the scene and introduces herself as Takashiko Dana. Kikuru notices that the girl doesn't show any enthusiasm for fighting and decides to go hunting without her, but she insists on accompanying them. Back in the forest, Kikuru was giving directions for the day's mission until Hitamu runs off in search of a monster. The bestie immobilizes her and it is Kikuru's job to save her again. Afterward, Kikuru decides to test Takashiko to see what she is capable of, so she takes on some strange beast rabbits and shows a lot of potential but little training. Back at the guild, the group meets Hanabata, the newest member of the team. She shows great ability and enthusiasm, so Kikuru is glad to have a suitable apprentice. Later, the group learns that Hanabata is the daughter of one of the city's top officials, so they pressure Kikuru to take good care of her on every mission. Arriving in the forest, the new team member easily defeats a huge boar that was trying to attack Hitamu. But before they know it, a stampede of wild boars starts their ambush and captures Hitamu, who is embarrassed by the monsters. Hanabata activates a special ability called Frenzy to save her companion. By activating this power, she is able to defeat all the enemies with ease, but she loses her sanity completely and takes off part of her armor, leaving her breasts almost naked. She also goes crazy with Kikuru and keeps hugging him. The group returns to the guild and Kikuru promises not to say anything about what happened. Kikuru scolds the group for their poor performance and gives them the next day off so they can bond with each other. But the truth behind this plan is that he can take physical and mental rest from his trainees. The girls are on their day off and Hitamu shows his usual enthusiasm to see his friends, so he invites them to a bakery. Once there, Takashiko asks about their love lives, but they admit that they do not have any suitors, so Takashiko takes the initiative again and calls Kikuru to ask her who she would date if she had to choose, to which she replies that she would date Inome, with whom she was talking about the recent missions. The next day, Hitamu accompanies Kikuru and Inome on a reconnaissance mission. But the real intention behind this is so that Inome can see the strange and perverted behavior that the monsters have with Hitamu. Along the way, Kikuru recognizes that she is very important to the team, as she always detects nearby enemies and is very attentive to her surroundings, as well as being excellent bait. At that moment, Hitamu is caught by some wild snakes that confirm to Inome the theory that Kikuru had been explaining to him. When he goes to save his apprentice, Inome is attacked by the snakes, but she uses a strange and perverted spell to free herself from the monsters. Upon returning to the guild, Inome reveals that Asina is his daughter, which makes perfect sense since they are alike. Kikuru was relaxing in his room when he is interrupted by a nurse named Rizumisu. She asks him to please help her do the medical checkups of the last patients, as the doctor is not present and she does not dare to take that responsibility. Kikuru completely disguises himself so as not to be recognized and discovers that the patients he will have to attend to are his trainees. He measures their height and then weighs them. The last check is their heart, and as this is an Ekai, he has to ask them to undress their torso to do it. The last one to be checked is Hitamu, who discovers it through her smell. Kikuru is embarrassed by this and goes into despair. On the other hand, the physical combat team had a training session that surprised Kikuru. They gave 100% and didn't complain at any time. At the end, Kikuru gives them some instructions and then gives them mana to hydrate, but this sends Hanabata into a frenzy. Kikuru calls Takashiko to teach him a method to control his partner's frenzy, and she tells him that Hanabata won't hurt him if he pretends to be hurt. Kikuru tries it and has good results until Hanabata regains consciousness and hits his boss. The group celebrates their first victory with a feast made from the meat of a lion bear. Kikuru compliments Hitamuki's cooking skills and underestimates her 3 other apprentices, so they start a competition to decide who is the best cook. All 3 of them present horrible dishes in front of Kikuru, so Kikuru asks them to taste it first. For some reason, their food is so ugly that it tears their clothes and they are left naked on the floor. Later, Kikuru scolds his apprentices for wasting food on cooking such horrible dishes, and Hitamuki tells Medina that her dish contained the male parts of a lion bear. The end. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and click the bell icon to get new anime recaps.